In this video, I want to talk about some of the apps that you'll find helpful when studying Chinese. As you start to begin studying, you'll find there are countless apps to help study, and some of them make really big promises. They'll talk about using the app for a few minutes a day will make you fluent, or at least conversationally fluent, in a short amount of time. And while a lot of the apps are really helpful, you need to go into it with realistic expectations. So let me talk to you about some of the apps that I've used and some of the apps that I like, especially for starting out. If you are just starting out with learning Mandarin, you definitely have come across Duolingo, and a lot of people criticize Duolingo. Personally, I think when you're just starting out, it's a good app. It's obviously not going to get you to fluency, but it uses standard pronunciation. It's got a kind of gamified system, and so it keeps you interested. It tallies your progress, and I think it's a really, really good app for starting. So if you are starting from zero, strongly recommend Duolingo. I think it's a really good app for beginners, but also I don't think you should use that alone. I think you should either use Duolingo with a language exchange partner. You can tell your language exchange partner the things that you're studying in Duolingo, and that gives you topics to use for conversations and for language exchange, or find another app to supplement Duolingo. One of the apps that I really like as a supplement to Duolingo is Drops. Drops is only vocabulary, and it's very simple. It gives you a category of vocabulary words and helps you focus on those through some spaced repetition. The free version is good enough. The paid version comes with some additional features, but I think Drops is a really good complement to the Duolingo app and can help you study those basic foundational vocabulary words. Another app that I really like for beginner, intermediate, or advanced learners is ChinesePod. ChinesePod has really interesting videos. Most of them are on YouTube. Most of their resources are free. And actually, the app I didn't really use so much, but I use their videos quite a bit because they use English, like I'm doing, to explain Chinese concepts. And they explain how to learn Chinese. They explain some of the grammar and some of the rules in learning Chinese. And so I think it's really helpful, easy to understand, short videos. I strongly recommend checking that out on YouTube. And they've got videos for all levels of your studying. For the more advanced users, I would say you can start using this beginning, middle, or advanced would be Anki. Anki is just a spaced repetition software. It has nothing to do with language learning. It's not content specific, but it is, in my opinion, the very best software for spaced repetition. It's open source, and so the decks are the things that you're learning in Anki. You can make those yourself, or you can download them online. There's some for free, and there are some that are paid. I have an Anki deck that I really like, one for basic level Chinese, for intermediate Chinese, and advanced Chinese. With my Anki decks, I don't like just studying vocabulary. I think vocabulary is a building block, but sentences are more important to me. So my Anki deck has a lot of Chinese sentences. It has the characters, the pinyin, and then the English, so that I'm seeing those in different formats and learning how to pronounce the word. And it also has an audio aspect to it, so I can hear the sentence or hear the word. An app, when I started learning, an app that everyone recommended, that everyone talked about, was Pleco. Pleco is a Chinese English dictionary, and it's supposed to be like the gold standard of studying Chinese. I couldn't get behind it. I tried using it for several months. I gave it several opportunities, and for me, it just seems like the translation app on my phone was more convenient. And so you can certainly take a look. Most people who are learning Chinese will come across Pleco. They'll try it for some time, but personally, it didn't resonate well with me. Let me see. Oh, Do Chinese. Do Chinese is by far one of my favorite apps for learning Chinese. What it is it is a guided reading app. So you get stories in every level. So you've got beginner, intermediate, advanced, and it breaks it down to 6 or 7 levels. And you can read the stories that are at your level. The stories, you can have them read to you, or you can read them yourself. You can click on a word that you don't know to save that word and review it later, or you can click on the word just to see the translation. So it's extremely convenient, it's extremely easy to use. And when you're studying sentences or vocabulary or just memorizing things, that can feel very boring. And so when you're in your language learning process, when you start out, you're gonna go through these times where you're really, really motivated and you can persevere through some of those kind of boring moments. But as you continue to study for weeks and then months and then years, you need something that's a little more interesting. The advantage of reading, especially through the Do Chinese app, and there's other apps that also do the same thing. LinkQ is a good one that does that. I just like Do Chinese, DU Chinese. But reading is using colloquial language, it's using it in context, and it is more interesting to read through stories rather than just reading like single sentences or single text. Now, if you're going to use Do Chinese, then it's really important that you stay at your level. You want to be comfortable reading. If you're coming across too many words, too many vocabulary words that you don't know, and you're constantly finding yourself looking up words, then drop down a level so that you're at a level that you're comfortable with. I think it's also a good idea to read the same story over and over and over and over again. That will help breed familiarity and help you remember certain sentences that you'll use in everyday context. The very last app I want to talk about that I used a ton when I was first beginning is Pimsleur. Pimsleur is a little expensive. I think it's quite expensive, but it's a listening app. It's only listening. It's audio, so you listen to the audio, and it's like that traditional what you'd think of with learning through listening, where they'll give you like a kind of a story. They'll give you kind of a scenario, and they'll say, this person is going into the office, or this person's going on vacation. Now listen, and then they'll like read a dialogue and you can listen to it, and then they'll go through it sentence by sentence, and they'll say it in Chinese, then in English, then again in Chinese, then in English. Each lesson for Pimsleur is about 30 minutes, and I found that for me, I listened to each lesson probably 5 times before moving on to the next one. So I would listen to lesson 1 like 5 times, then move on to lesson 2, listen to that 4 or 5 or 6 times, then move on. The nice thing about Pimsleur is, number one, it's audio, so you can do it anywhere. I would do it as I was falling asleep. I would do it while I'm in the shower. I would do it while I was driving to work, so that I'm just using that kind of downtime to listen. And the nice thing about listening is, if you're going to learn a language, you need to get the language inside of you. It's not enough just to read and recognize the characters. You need to know what the language sounds like, and that will help you repeat the language later. So that was a really good one. But I would say that also is only going to get you through kind of the first few levels of Chinese. It's not going to get you to fluency, but it'll get you a pretty strong foundation. I'm not paid by any of these apps. I'm not sponsoring any of these apps. There are so many different resources to learn Chinese, to learn any language. These are some of the ones that I like. If you try any of these, I would love to hear your comments. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching. 再见.